Welcome everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Housing Committee for Wednesday, October 6th. I am Kathy Hunter and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. And tonight we are joined by our committee members, Mary Dean, Lou Schaefer, Warner Marshall, Jim Graham, and Elaine Feldman. So the first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes for September 4th. Hope that wasn't early. Did everybody get a chance to look at those minutes?
Mary
Yes.
did from the TV.
Mary did a great
That's
job.
The way you
As
pay
always.
attention. She did a good job.
It's harder from the TV.
I move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Do
Perfect.
we have to note our visitor here?
Yeah, well, we are now going to be opening for public comment, and I think we do have someone here for public comment. So, I know who you are, so I will just write you down. I do have my handy.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have you sign in the official.
Sure, I'm happy to sign
Let's
it.
take your name anyway, in case somebody's watching this.
Handy dandy cookie.
Sure, so my name is Ben Carlson. I live at 89 Central Road. Let me just write this down. And I'm also a member of the Conservation Commission, so this is kind of what this public comment will have a lot to do with that. So I just want to start to thank you guys all for your service. I also serve on a board, so I know it's a lot of work, and so I thank you guys. So these comments are partially because of or based on the last meeting you guys had some comments that you guys made. But also just sort of some observations that I've made over my last, I don't know how long I've been on the conservation, a couple years maybe now. And I know that we plan to talk, I think in a month or so, and so I think that's going to be a really good conversation. This is not to replace that or anything like that, so this is just to sort of discuss some things that I observed in the last meeting. So. And I have just 4 points to make. So I thought it would be useful to describe a conservation perspective that I'm not sure that everybody here clearly understands. So maybe you do, but I just thought it would be useful to say this. So when we are doing conservation, it's inherently place-based. And so what I mean by that is we can't choose where rare or important ecosystems are. They're there. Animals use certain corridors. There's rare ecosystems here. All we can do is try to conserve those. We have really no choice in that regard. I think this contrasts to housing in some sense because there's actually flexibility there. You can choose to build one place, you can choose to build one place, a different place, you can choose different things to build. I know that some people here would probably say, your hands are tied in a lot of ways, but they're not as tight as ours are, right? We can't move an ecosystem somewhere else. And so for that reason, it matters much more often where you build than what you build. And that's a really important distinction from a conservation standpoint. And so I'll just use sort of a lightning rod of an example here, the Country Club. So the Country Club is a very rare ecosystem. It's represented by only 3% of the state. It's home to many different types of rare and endangered animals, state listed animals, and we've had multiple organizations. So CT Deep in two different reports, Audubon CT, Southwest Conservation District, a consultant botanist who happens to be the head botanist for CT Deep, have all said that this is a really special place, not just for Woodbridge, but for the entire state of Connecticut. And so for that reason, conservation is, like, we know that any sort of housing on this site would impair the critical habitat. So obviously we're naturally opposed to any type of development there. But from a conservation perspective, if Woodbridge was to suggest building, or somebody suggests building like a high density apartment complex in the business district, we would, from a conservation perspective, that's okay. So where you build really matters. And so this sort of goes into the next point, is that in the meeting, in your last meeting, I did hear Mary attempt to represent conservation's position based on a conversation that you had. I'm not sure who you talked to or what was said, but what you said was that conservation was generally against housing. So I just want to say that's completely not true. So
That wasn't what she said either. So I assure you, don't worry. I mean, the whole point of the meeting, were you attending in July? I didn't mean to interrupt you, forgive me if I'm doing.
okay, yeah. So you did say something along those lines, and it's on the. So I don't want to get into discussion, but
No, it's okay. Maybe you're misunderstanding what I said, or maybe I said it incorrectly. I
Okay,
apologize.
so-
I want to reassure you.
So I guess even if the whole thing was a misunderstanding. So I could say that you'll be happy to hear that conservation is not at all against housing. So I have, we haven't taken a roll call on this, but I've talked to, the leads, I've talked to other people. I know myself, none of us are against housing. What we want is housing that is, that considers the environment, right? So it needs to be environmentally responsible. And in that frame, I've listened to many of your meetings, and I actually think that we have a lot of common ground. I think there's a lot of your ideas that we would support. For example, and again, we haven't decided this for ourselves officially, so don't take this as official, but things like ADUs, mixed-use development in the business district, repurposing office buildings, right? I think this would easily receive conservation support. And you guys all want this too, but I think the problem that we're seeing is that you've also assumed this strategy of pushing high density development in certain places, and unfortunately, and I think you guys don't want this either, but this is sort of the lightning rod that gets the most attention, and in a way it has sort of defined your commission. This is from an outsider looking in, right? This is what people think about your commission, and I know that you don't think it's true, and I know it's not true because I've listened to all of your comments on several different meetings. But I actually think that taking this strategy it's not a good strategy for a few reasons, and you don't have to listen to me, or you can dismiss this immediately, but aside from the fact that high density housing in certain places is really environmentally irresponsible, I think that you're actually doing a disservice to the people that you're trying to help by trying to push these unpopular approaches. And that's because, as you've seen, there's really strong resistance to certain types of development. So, just as an example, you guys heard the POCD was rejected, the Board of Selectmen rejected that. I would say that was a major reason was from the Housing Committee's contribution, the high density development contribution aspect of it. The WDTC now opposes Fountain Street development. Your own committee actually opposes the Fountain Street development when Kathy was recused. But the townspeople actually support many types of housing. So I've been in lots of these different public comment situations, and everybody who who mentions the housing aspect, they all say the same thing. They say, I support housing, I just don't support this giant apartment complex, right? So, or I don't support housing on the country club. And I think it's really easy to dismiss this as, simple NIMBYism. I think before I moved here, I probably would have done the same thing, but I think that's actually disingenuous now that I've lived here. The analogy I would draw is, people are saying, yes, put it in my backyard, but why are you insisting on building it on top of my garden? Like, can't you put it by my shed instead or something? And so, I think to sort of wrap this up, why not work together? And I think that's where we're going, right? We're going to meet and we're going to talk about this stuff. I think we would support many of the options that you guys support. And then finally, I've also heard comments from members saying, we're both going to have to give something up to find a middle ground. I think that's a nice idea, but I think that that's the wrong framing. I don't think that we should really be focused on trying to get the other committee to give things up. I think that we can actually find solutions that will achieve both of our goals. And I hope we can continue this in our joint meeting, and I thank you for listening.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
It's my understanding that public comment was not a dialogue, and I think I would very much love to engage Ben
Is it
and
really?
talk about
I'm
it.
not
but-
sure. I'm not sure if that's. We can certainly ask people who are making questions on their comments. I know you're not representing. You're representing yourself.
Yeah, so
you can't speak on behalf of your committee. But I
I'm
don't see why we
happy
can't
to
ask
talk, but
questions
I
back.
also
to define what you're saying, and I want to just clarify it in my mind.
If you need to clarify,
Absolutely.
something that
Yeah.
was not,
Yeah.
was a misunderstanding, then it's, and I think, we're small, and we just have him tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to clarify some of your statements, just so we could start
Okay.
on the right foot.
Well, first of all-
don't get me wrong. I mean, I think we need to have a dialogue because
It
it's
would be
pretty
great.
clear.
No, I
I just want to make sure that we don't.
No, I'm not
I
gonna-
don't want to put Ben in a position where
No,
he's like,
speaking as an individual here.
Right,
we
and if
realize
you
that.
heard the dialogue going in the first the selectmen's meeting, they're talking about like, why do we let conversation with some people who speak and we don't have conversation with other peoples that speak, and then we should have like a standard rule of engaging, and so
I don't think we've been inconsistent. The other person that was speaking was asking us questions, which we don't.
Yeah.
We could still ask the person who's speaking. I don't see why we can't to clarify things because, it's an education for us as well as a committee. First of all, thank you for coming and talking
Yeah,
to
really.
us.
Thank you
I know
very
you're
much.
speaking on your own behalf. You can't speak for your committee, but we'll be meeting with them in the future. I also wanted to say, I'm going to just address my remarks to the country club because this committee has never endorsed Fountain Street. We never were even supposed to do so. And as you noted correctly, most of us individually don't approve, but we weren't asked. So that's not the important factor. The country club, my concern is, are you concerned about when there was a country club there up till 8 years ago and there was golf and pesticides going on, there was a clubhouse, there was a restaurant, a pool for a lot of people? Would that have been a concern to you individually?
So you're sort of asking, so let me just first say I'm happy to answer whatever questions, as myself. I also don't want this to supplant the meeting we're having later,
Not at
so,
all.
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm happy to.
I'm just
talk about- yeah.
curious about that.
yeah.
Why don't you just leave that for something that Ben can consider, okay, and not have
Yeah.
to put him on the spot.
Well, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, so you're sort of asking, it was not a natural site before, and not, so why are we thinking that it's so important now? Is that kind of your, and
Yeah,
there
that's
are
it.
pesticides all
I'm not
over? and-
looking to debate you, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting question. So it was sort of the fact that it was a golf course that paved the way to what it is now. So if no one ever did anything to that, it would probably be a forest right now. But because it was maintained as a golf course for so many years, it actually, once it was abandoned, it was able to develop at the moment into this really rare habitat type. Now, if no one does anything to it for another 50 years, it's going to turn back into a forest. And so the reason that this sort of disturbance was able to turn it into this really rare habitat is that that's actually how these types of habitats are created. But it's not human processes. It's things that we don't have anymore in the landscape as much. It's like big fires, beavers, other natural processes that used to operate on much larger scales 100, 200 years ago. We don't really have those anymore in Connecticut. And so that's why this type of ecosystem is disappearing. And so from a conservation perspective, we would not want to just protect it and let it go, because now we're going to lose all the conservation value of it. We actually have to maintain these meadows, and we have to, we do this thing called, conservation mowing, or you let a forest grow for 10 or 15 years, and then you have to cut it down again. And there's places in Connecticut where the cottontail rabbit is resident, which is a federally listed species. They don't occur here. But DEEP is actually going out and creating these habitats. They're cutting down forests, and they're mowing them down so that there's this type of habitat in the landscape. And their goal is actually to get to 15% of Connecticut. They would that's the ideal, because that's what it was in the past. They used to maintain these species. But if you don't have, if you have less of this type of habitat on the landscape, it just makes it harder for the species that need this type of habitat to connect. There's reduced gene flow, and then it's easier for the populations to go extinct because they don't have the type of, evolutionary, things to stop them, to stop diseases and, various things. So that's the answer. I mean, it clearly was disturbed, but the fact that it was disturbed is why it can be what it is today. And there's actually some remediation that should go on as well. There was an area where they stored pesticides that needs to be cleaned up, and there is an already disturbed footprint, which would not be a bad place to put something like a ball courts or a parking lot or something like that. It's already sort of concrete over. We can say, well, it's going to take a lot of effort to bring that back to even what it is in other places. But if you put houses there, even on that sort of already disturbed area, there's this, people are not confined to the little house that you put them on. There's this really wide anthropogenic halo that, light, extra light. There's cats that go out. Cats are one of the largest killers of songbirds. There's trash that's going to go. There's, all sorts of things that extend well beyond the footprint. And so, just because this is such a rare and sensitive site, it's really best to just leave this as something that, everybody can enjoy, instead of making it sort of the backyard for, a few people that get to live there.
Thanks, Ben,
Can
for
I ask a question?
educating me. Thank you.
Point of information. I've never seen a reference to the particular novelty of this site, and you made reference to something very specific. Can you give me, I'd be very interested to look at that. Could you give me the citation so that
Absolutely.
I can follow it up?
So yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I try to tell people, as many people as I can, about this, because I'm surprised that people don't know. So we actually have, I think it's 5 or 6 different reports on our website, on the Conservation Commission website.
If they're there.
And yeah, there's all these ones that I referenced. There's one we just got done on bats, which they found.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 6 of the 8 species. All 6 of them are state listed. A forester did a full overview. CT Autobahn did a review. So yeah, they're all there, and you
Okay,
can
thank
download
you.
them. And if you can't find them, just let me know, and
Will
I
do.
can point you there.
Thank you.
There's just one statement I want to make. When we started this whole process, back in the beginning, even creating the affordable housing plan, is that we do not want to segregate all affordable housing in the business district. So perhaps when we start meeting, we could think of areas where we could build affordable housing outside of the business district.
Yeah, that's
We would like to have people also to have access to nice open space, and that's why, having housing, around that area would provide people access to open space that wouldn't normally have that opportunity to enjoy, open space and greenways and trails, just like, people here in currently do. So it would be nice if other people did have that opportunity to enjoy the wonderful things about Woodbridge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable goal. I mean, this is kind of an idea that I've had that I would love to see the Conservation Commission try to push forward is to actually come up with some sort of a map that says, here's the places where you're going to lose the most ecological value if you develop, and here's the places where you're going to lose the least, and here's some sort of gradation in between. So we could actually, because I think even now a lot of the decisions that are being made, they're sort of like parcel based, right? It's like, is this little place sensitive or not? But it's actually, we have to, from a conservation perspective, we have to think about the whole landscape, right? I mean, this is, animals are moving through Woodbridge, through different corridors, they're exchanging genes. And so, we sort of have to think, I think, broader, and we have to really think about, sort of the relative value of different parcels, all across Woodbridge, instead of just sort of thinking very, sort of myopically almost about certain parcels. And I mean, that's from a development perspective, right? From a conservation perspective, we do have to think myopically about certain parcels because those are the ones that are the most rare and we can't move them around.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And we
Thanks, Ben.
appreciate this, and,
See you soon.
and we'll see you hopefully in November.
Okay.
They'll add us to the agenda, and they'll give us more than 15 minutes.
When is the meeting in November?
Well, they did suggest November 6th. I don't know
Yeah,
if
it won't be
it,
here by
Yeah.
then.
yeah.
I just want to find out if I messed up his name, which apparently I didn't, so.
All right, got it.
Ben Carlson?
Yep.
As opposed to Ben Carson.
Okay,
It
good.
was in the back of my mind.
I did get that a few years ago.
You know, you will.
All right.
thank you very much.
Thanks so
Take care.
much.
All right, well, thank you guys, I
To
appreciate
be
it. We'll see you in a month.
continued.
Yep, see you later. That messy thing in the middle is mine, and so.
We figured that out, that's why we knew you were coming. Who else is gonna
Can't-
coordinate
who else can't
their
carry
book
it
bag with their
anyway?
house bags?
Thank you. This is the POCD in case anybody else wants to look at it.
Okay.
Well, that was helpful, because I think there's a lot to talk about when we get there.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
I got a long list right now.
yeah.
So I'll digress for a second, because I don't mind doing that, but there's a famous instance with David Boies, the great litigator, where
Not
a
as great
witness,
as he thinks he is.
but a witness was being hesitant in answering him. So finally he said, "Why are you being so hesitant?" He was basically going through the shoe size, where do you live? And the guy says, "Because I've been told you're gonna try to trick me." So Boies goes to him, "Tell you what, I will tell you when I'm trying to trick you. So you don't have to, you could just answer these questions." And of course he did, and then Boies told him, "Now I'm gonna try to trick you," and of course he did. Boies, of course, tells that story
You get
himself.
where you want to go with that.
There you go. Box of rocks.
Yeah, no, I do think a lot of it is, again, education, and,
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with
I, I learned some things tonight.
I did too.
Yeah, that was
and
good.
So I think,
It is not correct to say that you can't do anything, okay, that you're stuck with what
Right.
things are, okay? You can build trails, you can build diversions, you can do, not that it's easy or that it's even possible here, but to make a blanket statement like that is just not correct,
Right.
okay? And, I mean, if your attitude is, well, we can find, we can compromise on certain things except the stuff that
We'll make
we
it.
believe in, that's like Middle Eastern diplomacy to me. Come on.
It's just really a matter of perspective. I
Yeah,
learned
fair.
a bunch of things that I did not know, absolutely, and I want to know more about them and think about them. But I also, for us, the focus has been the quality of life for unhoused people, for working poor, for how we can advance those opportunities. So there's got to be a way we can work together, and I want to work together. But I think our focus and perspective has been very different.
But this is good
Well,
because
that's
it underscores what,
understandable.
we were talking about this for a while, about how we're kind of siloed. We have a sort of a brief and then somebody else does, and there's, it's hard to harmonize those if there's no
Yeah.
back and forth
If
and
people-
dialogue.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well, I think it'll be interesting I always think it'll be interesting for people to know more about affordable housing and what the parameters are, what the requirements are, what the pressures are, what the legal imperatives are. Because if you broaden your image, just as he was broadening our image
Yeah.
of the conservation perspective, people don't naturally come to affordable housing with an understanding of the kinds of things that it's taken us a long time to learn.
Yeah.
So you have to be appreciative of that, and I'm looking forward to finding out what it's like to, really trade notes.
Do we know if, for example, it would be sufficient legal grounds in opposing an 8G kind of, 30G kind of thing, to say that, well, no, this is the ecological value of this is so, and is that an appropriate criterion for saying,
8-.
Yes.
No, it has to be the onus, of course, goes on the town
right, is
to
that-
prove that there's a health and safety.
right, well, I guess when
So I
I'm
don't
inartfully questioning, what I'm trying to
Yeah, I
say
don't
is that,
think the ecological value
is
of
that
It's not the
a,
health and safety of the beds, in other words.
well, no, that's right, I don't know,
Right.
but I suspect
No.
it's not.
No, it's
So,
not.
so, and a little arithmetic lesson here, we want to try to make, use every possible thing we can do realistically to enhance the housing stock here and to diversify the housing stock. But, if you think you're going to do it with ADUs, for example,
Exactly. the kind of
let's
thing
say
that-
there's 3,000 units in this housing units currently in this town. Okay, it's a little more than that, but let's say it's 3,000. And let's say we're humming along at 1.18 or 1.25, make the math easier, 1.25 of housing stock being quote affordable, and you want to get that up, a little bit. If you added, 30 units of ADUs, okay, which good luck with that. That's not going to happen overnight. That would get you up to about 2.4, 2.5%. It's not gonna make it helps, but it's not the solution. So,
Is that the solution to that?
And let me follow up on your question. This is a question I have no idea what the answer is. If we don't get the number higher and we don't get the moratorium, can a developer come in under 830G and say, I want to develop at the country club and damn be conservation?
Well,
Is
no.
that a possibility? No?
The possibility,
Yeah.
the town
I would-
owns the property, if it was privately owned, yeah, absolutely, but the town owns the property, so the town could control what they want to see in terms of development of the
fair
property.
point. Yeah.
But certainly, there's other properties that, a developer could buy and could trump, the zoning regulations and put in what they want, because there's an urgency for housing, and the need for housing, supersedes the need for protecting cottontail rabbits. So, that's just the way it is. You have to look at what is the more pressing, urgent need. I still really can't understand when it talks about pathways and, for
Certain
wildlife.
animals.
What do they do when they hit the Mirror Parkway?
Doesn't end well.
So there isn't so I don't really understand that. And the fact that this is not, they're talking about the habitat because it's early successional growth because we didn't do anything for the past 15 years. And so you have that doesn't,
It's
early
only been- it's only been
successional
8 years.
only lasts for like 20 years. And it's probably in the last 5 years of that, and then it grows into a forest, which he says. So, there's nothing, that's going to be unique about it when you let the time pass, because it's just going to grow. But right now, it's interesting because it's been kind of left in this natural habitat where there's some early growth that I guess, But I don't know why you just can't do the conservation mowing someplace else and get that.
Use a small portion of it, 'cause that's all anybody's ever suggested.
Yeah, and then,
And as Jim points out, the Merritt Parkway is not a good thing.
Well, yeah, but there's a pretty good, across Johnson Road, just that little area, which is not traveled that much, just from the golf course, and into the back through where I live, there's a sort of an unbroken string of forest land. The deer are going through it all the time. They have migratory patterns, I'm sure, of animals. The foxes come through there. The occasional bobcats come through there. So I think that's a possibility.
Well, I think you could probably create, and the whole idea I think is understanding, but it's not like you have to preserve every piece of property.
Correct.
We could have strategic development, and as far as I know, is higher density is ecologically beneficial because you're putting more housing on less land.
And less space, yeah.
And
Well,
that's-
that's another
these are
example of the
things-
kind of thing that I think that they need to really think about.
Yeah.
And we need to bring to their attention.
Yeah.
And then maybe they've thought about it too, and they can help us figure out, why it's a concern.
With
Yeah.
37% open space, I'm full of questions today, by the way, no answers. The 37% open space that we have, does that include the country club
No.
or not?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Is that so?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not considered, I don't think it's considered
Because it
open
wasn't,
space.
because it was a country club for all those years,
Yeah.
so not counted in the
Well,
open
good
space
question.
as far as I know.
I wonder if
Yeah.
if you looked at it
may
now,
now.
whether it would be considered.
Yeah, it might be now though.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't
But
know.
I know the last POCD, I don't believe it was, because it wasn't
And we've had
active.
that 37% back from probably Dominic's
Yeah.
days here, so that
Yeah,
was all.
Well,
yeah.
that's the water problem, water company.
Yeah, there's the
property,
water,
all that
the
stuff.
regional water. I mean, you could get into what's protected, unprotected, open space. I mean, there's all these different definitions.
So you're saying the country club would not be subject to 8-30G because it's owned by the town?
It's owned by the town, so
So the town
So in the
owned
town,
land is
if the town
exempt?
didn't refuse to sell it to them, I don't think they'd be able to
yeah.
develop.
I mean, if the town sold it to a developer and then they decided they wanted to do that, but I think they're making some conditions. They're being very careful with the use of that piece of property. And so, I don't know, I guess if it did, I don't think the town's gonna let that happen, I think they're gonna control that piece of property.
And wouldn't it require a referendum to sell that? Have I, do
Well, I
I
think there's-
understand that, or not? Is that?
Oh, that was the topic.
That was a topic, so
Yeah.
you might have to refer to the Board of Selectmen meeting of tonight.
Tonight, are you in the room?
I was watching a little bit of it before I left. It was a rough meeting, I have to say.
I got the sense from just looking at the faces as I passed by.
Yeah, it
wasn't-
was a pretty rough meeting, but I think there was a question as to whether or not there's a referendum or a town meeting or a vote of the Board of Selectmen. It's based on what the charter says, and so.
Because I was always under the impression that it was, that this had to be a town referendum.
That's what they were discussing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the point that it took them forever, it seems to kind of get around to understand it, was that if the charter says they have to have a town meeting, do they have to have a town meeting or can they have a referendum? And that was a lot of, and they've asked the legal counsel to try to figure out what the limitations, if any, may be there.
Well, what's the, I mean, let's assume they have a
If
town
they're-
meeting, are they free, I mean, what happens at the town meeting if the, I
Well,
mean,
the
is it?
objection is obviously that if you have a town meeting, it's a subset of the population that's voting. And it's better to have a referendum if you're trying to have a broader
I see.
consensus.
I see,
or
okay,
develop
okay,
a
I
consensus.
got
So
it.
they want to have, the sense I got from the meeting was that they would like to have a referendum, and they're concerned that legally they are not allowed to, that they have to have, it has to be done by town meeting, that kind of thing. That's my sense, my personal sense.
So the town attorney was gonna look into that
He's
issue?
gonna look into that.
Yeah, yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot of
Okay.
questions
Wasn't
around.
there a referendum when it was acquired? I thought I remembered that.
I thought so too, but I'm not, it's a long time ago.
They do too.
Was it
But
referendum?
it's not precedent, necessarily precedent.
That was just a one-time thing?
Yeah, I think they could decide to have a referendum in order to be, you know, to kind of leave it open for people. to-
Okay, but there has to be some sort of town input and to, you know, up or down, one way or the other, whether you do it by referendum or by a town meeting. We don't know which one is appropriate,
yeah,
but it has to go through that kind of process.
If there's a sale of town property, I mean, then they're also talking about,
About 99 year,
99,
Lease,
yeah,
yeah.
actually, you know, and I'll be talking a little bit about like the Warner, that's a long-term leasing
A ground lease,
arrangement. Or, you know, I always like the idea of a community land trust where, you know, the town just owns the land and they could control it that way, but they never got into that concept.
interesting.
Anyway, okay. Well, that was a long public comment.
It's the way it goes today. If you were watching the television program.
It was helpful.
No, it was good. No, I
Yeah.
appreciated him coming and talking, because I think that's what we have to start doing that, so that's all good.
Well, hopefully they won't cancel this.
Yeah, no, it's hopefully they definitely, I get the sense that they definitely want us to come to them versus them come to us, because I asked them to participate in our meeting, and they seem to be more interested in us going to them first. So we'll do it this time, maybe next time.
I don't care which way we go, but it does make more sense for them to come to us because they want to influence our decision, which they're entitled to do. But
Well, we'd like to influence things
There,
too.
so
We're
I mean,
trying to-
we're not trying to influence them, we're issuing a report and they want to, you know, or whatever.
But
I won't
so,
be here on November 6th in any
has it been
event.
established that they are coming to our next meeting?
No, we're
confirmed?
talking about us going to their next meeting, which is the
sixth.
Thursday.
The Thursday's the sixth, yeah.
Thursday the sixth, so we'll have our, you know, so it's gonna be a busy, it'll be a busy week.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be, you know, our housing meeting and then, you know, us going to their, or showing up for the first part of their meeting, or whatever. We'll have to figure it out, so. Anyway, we'll have to work on, you know, some agenda items and, you know, maybe I'll maybe send out some, well, I have actually on the agenda so we could talk about some potential agenda items. But let's just roll through. I was trying to make it a quick meeting like we did last month, but maybe not. All right.
The Yankee game tonight.
It's 1-0
I saw it.
Oh, okay.
to the bottom of my. Just says a little bit, I just saw it, it
Thanks,
just said.
Jim.
Are you gonna talk about the ordinance?
Yes, I have that in my chair report, so let me
Okay.
roll through my chair report, because I did want to talk about, I did attend the YIMBY conference. That was in New Haven, that was sponsored by Desegregate Connecticut, it was in New Haven. It was a really great session. YIMBY stands for Yes in My Backyard, counter to NIMBY, you know.
Which we all
You
know.
know, argument against developments of more apartments and single-family home neighborhoods. But they had some interesting features. They were featuring like the success of some red states, like in Florida and North Dakota. Texas that have been passing some really good housing reforms to make higher density housing easier to do. And it was interesting because the red states, they were passing their zoning on housing based on the idea that landowners should have the right to do what they want with their land. So I thought that was interesting, but mostly it was based on the need to grow the economy, and that's why they thought it was smart to make it easier to have housing built. So it was just interesting that they featured a lot of lawmakers from Republican states that were doing this.
That's right, there was that keynote, wasn't it? The keynote was from South Dakota.
From North Dakota, yeah. He was interesting. I forgot what his name was, but he was good. And there's other great speakers. There was the chief economist of Redfin, and that's, like I said, online real estate broker.
Yeah.
I wasn't really familiar with that firm, but she spoke about just the housing crisis in terms of just middle class people just can't afford homes anymore because they're just not able to afford buying a home because of the crazy increases, especially following COVID, of homes, and people just staying in their homes because they're thinking they could get the prices of the post-COVID era, but the prices are coming down, but they still want to get those prices, and so people are just like staying in their homes until they get.
And the housing stocks.
And
The available stock is.
So there's no
diminished,
turnover. Yeah, so that was interesting. I would love to bring this Bill McKibben into our conservation meeting. He's the founder of the Third Act, which organizes people over the age of 60, so that would be good for our group.
That's in the rearview mirror, let me tell you.
Happy birthday, don't rub it in.
So on climate and racial justice. So he talks about the connection between affordable housing and affordable sustainable energy, and talks about how affordable housing is far more environmentally friendly, and so he talks about that from a social justice.
As long as you don't
Less.
have cats.
There is lots of grumbling about House Bill 5002, and I have nothing to report. A special session still not scheduled. The legislative leadership and the governor continue to say that they want to work on a revised bill in special session, but there hasn't been any public movement. So reportedly there is a bill out there, but it's being held close to the vest. So I don't know what's going to happen. I imagine there is going to be a bill at some point. I don't know when and what that's going to look like. And so just some good news on the Warren and Lucy Street, the elderly housing. There's movement for a nonprofit organization, New Samaritan Elderly Housing Management, to take over that housing. As I understand, there's a letter of interest between the owner and this nonprofit organization, and they specialize in elderly housing and services. And as a nonprofit, they're going to be able to bring in, new resources, public resources, to really, recapitalize and renovate those units. So that's.
Is it fully occupied at this point?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah. So, that's I think great news, and I think once it's finalized, I will bring the organization in to speak about the project, because we should know what's going on with the project. I know they're looking to make it all affordable, because right now only 6 units were affordable. Even though the owner did actually keep all 30 units at affordable level, there was only 6 units that were actually required to be affordable under the Chaffin mortgage. So that's all going to be.
Were the other units deed restricted though?
There were 6 units that were.
6, but
Just
not
not the
Not the
others.
other ones.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But they're it's probably one of the good examples of naturally occurring affordable housing. He did keep the rents affordable, which was the other reason why, you know, it got a little dilapidated, because he wasn't able to keep up on the repairs. And also to report that I did provide public comment on the master plan for the Woodbridge Country Club. I know Elaine was there and Lou was there for moral support. Appreciate that. The final plan was posted because that wasn't posted for a while. I think at the night that the Democratic Town Committee did the presentation, they finally posted the final version of the framework that they were talking about. And, you know, it's a pretty looking plan. I don't know if folks got to look at it. And they talked about a zoning overlay district to supersede existing zoning that's there, and that's for them to allow them some flexibility to do potential commercial development. I just want to ensure that the overlay zone doesn't have the effect of actually decreasing the affordability requirements that are currently there based on our current opportunity housing. So we just gotta watch out for that.
Did it say in that, I think I called Lou after the meeting, did it say in that packet of information that 10%, any building over 10 units would have to have 10% affordable housing? There was one line in there that.
Yeah, and that, I guess that was, it was a minimum of 10%.
Yeah.
And that's what I was told, but I was like, yeah, but now the opportunity housing zoning that's currently there says you have to have, you know, 15% or 20% depending on your targeting, and it's for any multifamily housing 3 units or more. So the way it's written, it sounds like it's decreasing the requirements for affordability. So again, this is all I have. This is just a framework, and when you put it out for a request for, they're going to put a request for expression of interest. This is all going to have to be, you know, worked out when people come up with their developments they're going to propose for doing there, because you know, I think the idea of you know, doing the age restrictions, you really can't do age restriction of a town you know, sponsored piece of property, because you have to.
Discriminatory.
Yeah, there's for housing laws that you can't like prevent other populations from moving in. So I think that will all have to work out once they do the request for expression of interest. So let's see. Talking about the Housing Commission ordinance. So yeah, I did speak on that, and that's probably going on, or maybe you listened to it. I did speak to it in terms of increasing the membership to 7, and in terms of membership of adding on an ex officio member of a town planner once that town planner comes in place, and a representative from planning and zoning. And I have a funny feeling they weren't interested in doing that.
Yeah, I was.
Was
that
it town
puzzled me.
planner
I
part?
don't, but you said it was ex officio. They said, well, they can't be on the committee, but they wouldn't have a vote. And I was still, it was fascinating why there was pushback on that. I wouldn't have thought that was controversial.
Well, all I could think of is if they saw the planner as somebody that was promoting or was encouraging affordable housing, and that's why they weren't interested in the planning capacity aspect of it. And certainly, I spoke up against the fact that there's a conflict between somebody being on planning and zoning and housing committee, because you know, it's not just a zoning committee, it's a planning committee.
That's right, 2 functions.
And a plan, you know, so it's inherently it's in conflict because you're zoning and planning, but you have to, it's a conflict that committees do manage because you're planning and zoning, and you have to plan, and housing, that's why housing comes under a lot of planning and zoning committees in the state. So I lost that argument, and I understand why I'm losing the argument, because,
So you made that argument to them,
yes, I
Yeah.
made that a number of
to the
occasions.
board of selectmen?
Yes.
Boy, they didn't take that, there was no reflection of that whatsoever.
Oh, no,
They are just, at least some people, I mean, I don't know.
no, they are they're very set,
They're very set.
that they don't want any planning aspect in the housing commission, so, it's just like, okay.
Okay.
It was bipartisan.
Yeah, no,
That's the only positive.
I think
That baffles me,
this
though.
is a bipartisan issue. So, the idea that, a housing commission could actually promote affordable housing is not, I don't know. This
As
is,
if even if you were, whether you're,
yeah,
just don't.
I mean, I think it's often forgotten that that was our mission, our
yeah.
original mission.
I know.
That's why the committee was put together.
It's very hard. I was sitting there because I was representing another item on the agenda, so I just stayed to listen because I was gonna be here anyway. And sometimes it was very hard for me. I mean, I couldn't get up and talk, so that kept me in my seat. But there were some cases where you just thought, what are you people talking about? You really need to have your knowledge corrected, or what you think is
Yeah.
going on corrected. And sometimes I was just mad when they absolutely would not, and the reason they would not let us have 7 people instead of 6 people, that made me just cross.
But that
No,
came
no,
up
no,
tonight.
seriously,
Yeah,
the
they were-
What did they say?
6 was the number and that's gonna be the number?
You know this. They
Well, I don't know.
They didn't allow any changes whatsoever.
No
to the
changes, so I guess
original
it's-
Ordinance, nothing
Really?
that we recommended. Yeah.
What,
Which
they
is-
could have an even number? A small even number?
We have to have an even number. And the
Why?
reason is
Which was even put
political.
up by political, but the
It's-
Republicans put it up as well. It's put up by both
Because they
parties.
don't want the possibility of they need to have equivalency between the Republican and Democratic representation.
Fine, put another independent on, I don't know.
And
And that was
What's the problem?
sad, and I explained when,
I wanted to jump up and say, look, we don't even know who's on our committee, and we make sure that everybody has a way, has a chance to speak their mind. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. If you've got a charge, you meet your charge.
It's funny because when Chris made it very clear when we were talking about how difficult it is to get a quorum when you have such a small number, and having an even number just makes it. If you have 6, you might as well just have 5
It
because
sounded to me like they thought all committee meetings are partisan
partisan driven.
driven. And that just made me so cross. I thought, this is not where we want to
It's
be.
too
But
bad.
even
Well-
Amy Morello at the meeting that I was at wanted an odd number.
because it's just
Well,
makes
and,
sense. It's not-
and at least one, if not 2 members of the Board of Selectmen spoke in favor of having the 7 people. So it wasn't universal that they wanted
So
to
they
have
voted on this, or so they formally voted to turn down our request?
Yes, all of them, yeah. No, they formally voted
To,
to pass the ordinance
In its
as
original form.
originally drafted.
Oh. Well, since we're talking about how we make things up and how we make decisions, and apropos of something we were talking about just before, I have before me the town charter. And here's section 105-1, delegation. The town meeting, it's a defined term, hereby delegates its power to acquire and convey interests in real property to the Board of Selectmen in the name of the town, subject to the provisions of this chapter. Go down a little further. Whenever it is determined by a meeting of the Board of Selectmen called and held for that purpose that any parcel of real estate owned by the town, including property taken by tax foreclosure or in lieu of taxes or any other lien, no longer serves any public use or ordinarily provided by the town government, like living, said board shall have the power at its sound discretion to lease said parcel to person or persons financially responsible in the most advantageous terms and conditions the market at the time will afford. So, unless there's something else in here that I don't know about and I looked, The only reason that you would want to have a town meeting or a referendum is because you don't want to take the flack if you make a decision. Okay? So that's what, so that's, unless there's something else, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Just-
Read it.
I mean, a lot of it,
right.
I
That's
haven't,
interesting, yeah.
I haven't read it, and, you know, maybe that people are trying to hide.
It's in really English letters, never wrote.
All right, so maybe the board of selectmen could just vote on it and just take the leadership in doing something.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, I could understand why they'd want to have
I
it.
can.
But I mean, you know, I had been led to believe that this was a, you know, an absolute must and you had to have, you know, it's like,
Yeah, I think there's a little gray area. as to
Wouldn't
how
it be
to
funny
do it.
if the town attorney came back with that?
well, I
He's really
assume he or
trying
she
to
can read
figure
English.
out what to do.
Who remembers back when the country club was first bought by the town? There was a referendum.
Yeah.
Was that over the Toll Brothers offer? Was that
No, it's
There
about
was-
the
there
town
was
buying
there-
the,
the town buying
at least
it?
that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
It's like
like,
15 or 18 years.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I remember it the same way, but I will confess that I might not remember right.
Yeah, I never cared, I never voted, I was oblivious to town politics back in the day.
Probably slept better then.
Oh, well, I had my, I was fighting City Hall in Bridgeport, so I had my
Yeah.
own battles, so.
Yeah.
She was busy.
anyway, this is fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And there was another thing, going back to our previous public comment, because I realized I didn't address this, when people say things that are not exactly correct, talking about the, I want to just explain generically. For a housing development that's a market rate development that has affordable housing set-aside units, I want to explain how you keep the affordability in those units. So if you have like, a say 50 unit multifamily unit where you have like 5 units are affordable and you're targeting like 8, so you have 5 units that are like 80 restricted to those that are at 80% AMI, and so the administrator, which is usually the owner, does that, and so they qualify the person who's 80% AMI and they're in the affordable housing unit. In the event that household does well and they start making more money and they're no longer 80%. They're given a choice. They're given a choice to either A, move out, or B, they have to start paying market rent. And then when they start paying market rent, the next time a similar unit comes up, that unit becomes the affordable unit. So it's like a floating unit concept, so that the building always remains affordable, and that's how it maintains its affordability, because there's some misinformation out there, and I just want to explain, that's how a development with set aside of affordability
That makes
maintains its
Because it would be,
affordability.
that seems to me the only way you can actually make it work, really.
Yeah, but that's the way it works.
And don't forget to put that part about how the town has to keep a track of whether they're doing it. Who is it?
I
Yeah,
was
the
just
town
gonna
has-
They have to
yeah.
monitor it,
The
yeah.
town has
Somebody
to-
has to
Well,
monitor it.
the administrator, so it would be the owner, has to verify that the people are affordable, and they have to give that information to the town, because the town has
Town
to
has to do the report.
do the report for the 8-30G appeal list, so that's due at the end of January, so they have to report that to,
That's the cover.
That's interesting.
So that's the way,
Bureaucratic,
and it does actually work like that?
Oh,
in
yeah,
most
I mean,
towns?
that's-
It's like that standard,
that's
Standard
standard
procedure.
operating, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that's how, because I've, being in Bridgeport, we've had, we actually started doing a lot of set-asides of the units, because, you could, chaff a mortgage, tax credits, you know, you get more points if you have affordable housing units, and that's how you do, because, you know, you want people to do well.
Yeah, well, is the qualification entirely income-based? And let's say somebody comes into a large inheritance, that's not income, it's.
Oh, yeah, they
welfare.
look at your assets.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like you could, well, I'm not working, I'm just independently wealthy, no. No, it's not
They look at your
income-based.
assets,
They look
I
at your
guess.
assets.
All right.
Filling out Medicaid
Great Uncle
forms.
Marty died and left me a fortune, you know?
Yeah, no, it's, they
Okay.
have testing for that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, that's interesting, okay.
Because I've been, you know, I heard something on Channel 12, I don't know anybody, yeah, it was, I'm like, no, that's not right. It's not right, that's not how it works, this is how it works. Okay, so that is my chair report. Does anybody have any comments on that? Okay. So I think the big item on our agenda is whether or not anybody has any changes to the housing section of the POCD. You know, I looked at it again today, and I have to say,
I looked at it too, but
they really like scaled it down big time, but there's enough in there, like, you know, to make it doable. As you know, there's a lot of flack about the fact that we have housing in the POCD. Yeah, and it's really, you know,
nothing jumped out at me that I would change.
Why wouldn't it be part of the town plan and?
Because it wasn't before, I presume.
because it
I
wasn't,
couldn't think
because
of
they've
anything.
been fighting mentions of affordable housing and higher density housing forever. You know, there's been consultants that come in and they put it in their POCD, and then people take it out of the POCD. So they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to take affordable housing, higher density housing out of the POCD.
Entirely, really?
I'm
Okay.
supposed to stand every hour.
Oh, okay.
I'm not making a speech.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
I was actually the person who thought maybe we should put it on the agenda again. Because the first time I looked at it, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, our 10 points, they're not represented at all, and what's going on here. But when I looked at it again, I thought, well, actually, you know, we got the major things.
We got the major
Yeah,
things.
that's
in.
what I
Major
thought
things are
also.
there, and so I apologize for making a fuss.
But I don't know if does anybody have any recommendations to change anything in the housing section? I mean, there's some other areas, and I know you made
Oh
some,
my gosh, yes.
you know, but in terms of a housing area, if you're okay, if you're not okay, I just want to get the sense as to whether or
I
not.
Nothing
personally
jumped
was
out.
okay when I went through the 10-point list. I thought, well, I can see why they stepped away from this one. And I was really pretty surprised that some of it was almost, clearly they read it. And they picked some of it up that I thought was particularly important. I'm not in a position to tell you exactly what, but I was comforted. I thought it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So we're
agree.
good. Jim, do you have any thoughts?
You know, I was trying to think, I thought there, no.
Okay,
And it
so
was-
we're all good. Warner, you're good with the way the POCD is addresses housing. Louis, you're okay?
Yep.
Okay, so,
Assuming it continues to do so.
so, you know, I just hope it gets adopted. And that people don't try to strategically and organize to take critical pieces of housing out of the POCD, because I think it does, you know, a decent job of doing what it needs to do to advance housing opportunities and affordable housing in a way that's very balanced.
Were you at the meeting where they voted on it by any chance? Is there any sense of why they voted it down?
There was a lot of organized public comment around it. Yeah, that talked about, a lot of the conservation committee was just saying that it wasn't, I almost felt like they were saying you can't have you talk about conservation and you're talking about housing development, and, you know, you can't have conservation efforts. You know, yeah, a lot of, and it's like, no, you could.
Really?
And I just, I don't know why it's like, you know, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think you could figure it out and be strategic about it, so.
That's what we
Yeah.
need to learn more about.
They're very against, again, the concept of higher density housing, which blows my mind, because again, it's very, you know, ecological beneficial to have higher density housing because you use less, it's more efficient, you know, smaller homes are more efficient.
But you have to remember, you're beginning with the perspective that homes need to be built. And what I'm concerned about is the possibility that people think homes don't need to be built. And if you don't start with an understanding that we're all at the table here, and we do have to have some give and take in order to get everything done, then you're never going to be able to arrive at a common solution.
Yeah,
So that's what we first have to do, to keep educating people about the need for housing.
yeah, I do think that's, you know, to just bring up, and I try to bring up and, you know, and maybe we could just kind of jump into the Woodbridge Like Me Day a little bit. I did try to talk to people about the need. I had like the report from the recent report from United Way, the Alice numbers.
I'm gonna go grab some water.
Something like, you want a Ricola?
Yeah.
There's a cup, right?
Is that a clean cup?
I hope so. I hope there's two, and could you get me some too?
And it was
There's none in the water fountain. I tried to get some on the way here.
Yeah. I think these are clean, Mary.
Okay, I'm.
Call me in the middle of the night if,
Did we help?
Oh my gosh, that's a big cup, isn't it?
and we just need to, can we have some?
Oh, I was drinking a little bit from it. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
We're desperate.
A little bit, just a little bit, that's all we need. Thank you.
And my shots.
Sorry to interrupt the meeting here.
Okay.
So you talked to quite a few people that look like it, Woodbridge Like Me. I was coloring with the kids.
Yeah, no, we had, and so Elaine and Warner was at Woodbridge Like Me Day, and it was, you know, not a whole lot of people walking around the tables, so, you know, there's, you know, self-select who comes to the table, but people were like, yeah, I don't, you know, we need to have housing, you know, we need to, why aren't we doing the housing in Woodbridge Country Club? I don't understand, why aren't we developing it?
Okay.
Yeah, they were very much pro housing and the need for housing. Again, but those are people that self-select to come to the
Right.
table. But it was a,
People we were familiar with that have come and commented before, these are,
these are
There's
different
faces that
people.
New faces, I thought,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was good. I got a couple more names. Though I have to say the event was a little different setup, and I thought it was actually interesting that it was more entertainment, so they had a stage and they had people doing like shows all day, and so they had like, you know, chairs to watch the show, so it was more like a, you know, we were just kind of like, you know,
You were the circle around.
yeah,
those, I think.
circle around,
Last
like,
year.
you know, so, but the shows are really good.
They were.
The kids were
Kids are
amazingly, oh
They were
God,
good.
they had like this little, I don't know if they were from Beach or, they were young, they were like these little kids, it was like, you know,
Oh, the martial arts, that one?
not the rock band.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, there was like these
Good.
little kids, and they were like, reminded me of, Jack Black.
Oh, yeah, the
It's
School of
School
Rock.
of Rock.
School of Rock.
It kind of reminded me of that, because we were
I love that movie. I've seen it many times.
they were so good. It was just
They were good.
The superintendent
Yeah.
talked about that tonight.
no, it was fun. So anyway, but we did it and we were there, and so I think we just have to continue to to just try to educate as many people as we can. I did do the big poster of the ADU. I told Chris Sullivan that I was gonna bring it to her office and plop it on her shelf so people could see it and see how many ADUs we're going to get. Again, my belief, I think ADUs are a wonderful option for people who live in Woodbridge if they wanna, have an option for their kids, their mother, their caretaker. I don't see people building ADU, even with an incentive to rent out to somebody to low income. It's just,
You'd have to have such a big incentive.
I just don't see it happening. But, I hopefully Chris is gonna look into it, we'll come up with a program and see what happens,
I would agree with what you just said. I don't see it doing much at all.
No,
No,
But our
yeah,
charge
I
is
think-
to do something, it
Yes.
doesn't happen.
Yeah,
It just-
yeah. But, if he could prove me wrong, I'd be very happy.
Just another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah,
But a very small tool.
yeah, but we'll see. But the poster also talks about, like 2 units. And I'm surprised that people don't pick up on that, because 2 units are, as of right, throughout most of Woodbridge. So I don't know why people don't.
I don't think there's been any application for that.
No, there has been none,
Yeah,
yeah, and for the residential A.
yeah.
Any of the builders pushing that? I mean, there's not a lot of activity.
No, nothing, so, no, I'm just surprised.
How many people came to the table approximately? I know you do.
Oh, no, I'd say about a dozen, right?
Probably. I went home for a little bit to get Bob, but yeah, 12, 15 maybe.
And at the other tables, was that pretty much what they were getting to, or no?
We were next to Mazzaro Farm on one side, right?
Yeah.
And
We might have
voter
gotten more.
registration was on the other side, thankfully with a tent, because
Yeah,
we could.
it was so hot,
It was
oh my
so
God, I
hot.
was
Oh my
dying.
goodness.
Well, we
I-
had to, we had a voter registration, but what about the farm? Did we have about the same amount of visitors?
I don't
more?
think they had much more than we did.
Okay.
Do you? I mean, I wasn't really observing,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
sure.
think they had better stickers. So more kids.
It's all
Wait a minute, we had good stickers.
I love those stickers.
Swag, yeah.
Yeah, they had good, no, but she was nice. I was nice talking to her. Yeah, it was kind of, in terms of attendance, for the tables, there wasn't a lot of people from like past years.
Yeah, it seemed like
Yeah, I
there were
heard
more
from
people.
other people too.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah,
thinner than usual.
very thinner. But at least we weren't like usually our tables like behind the firehouse by the bathrooms.
By the dumpster.
At least
by the-
they put us in in the main street. So that was good.
Take what we can get.
All right, so,
Are you gonna take the poster down to her, or is that a little joke? Down to the.
I am gonna take it down to her, because I wanna say, because when they come out and say that we're not doing anything to promote ADUs, I'm gonna say, hey, look, I put a big poster there. What else do you want me to do?
Short of building them, what?
Yeah, I don't know, we made a flyer, we passed out flyers, community events, I talk it up.
Coaches, yeah.
It-
We'll have, even if we put on a public, just, performance, a panel or something on the subject with posters all over town, and we get a very good crowd, people will still say, oh, really? I didn't know you did.
I mean,
So just trying to think.
we're never gonna make everybody
No.
happy. And talking about not making people happy, I think I did hear, because I thought that I would be, or we would be presenting about our affordable housing little update that we did. I thought we needed to talk about it in this meeting, October meeting. Because we did that in August and we sent it to them in August, and Mika had said, well, September's really busy, probably in October, but I never got asked to and I wasn't gonna call to remind them. But we weren't asked
On the agenda.
they decided they didn't put on the agenda, but it seems like, a couple people really, are demanding that we be on the agenda.
Which suggests they think that there's a lot in it, a lot of change.
I guess, well, I'm sure people, I think that probably the typical cast of characters are gonna criticize it, and so they're gonna make a,
Who was demanding that we be on the?
Andrea Urbano wanted to, was upset it wasn't on the agenda for tonight's meeting, so, I guess there's gonna be another special meeting,
The meeting
yeah.
in
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that we would be presenting there first. I was expecting that, but then I didn't get the call or email, so.
The next meeting's after the election, right?
Well, I think they're gonna do a special meeting,
The last Wednesday.
in October.
Yeah.
Did they say when? Last Wednesday?
And he said they have one on the calendar standard for that possibility, and did he say the last Wednesday?
Last
or-
Wednesday.
Probably the last Wednesday.
Okay, so there's a possibility last Wednesday. We'll have to go and defend our changes, so Mary,
A special meeting
I'll
just
look
for
down my
this
feet.
issue?
oh,
or
no,
for
they have
other-
other issues
okay.
that they
Oh, yeah, no,
have a
okay.
whole host of issues.
Okay. But I keep thinking, do people understand what the changes? Does anybody explain to them exactly what we did or what we didn't?
We tried to explain as much as we could. Look, we're not gonna make certain people happy no matter what we do, so,
Well, we corrected what they said we should correct.
I know, but it's not gonna be
I
enough.
know.
It's not the point. They, I was hoping they just read the strategies and focused on that, but, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, well,
So, I did want to talk about the conservation joint meeting, in terms of, a couple things. I'm probably gonna get maybe, because they're talking about like, well, we'll have them for 15 minutes. But
do you have anything for 15
I
minutes?
know. So maybe they'll go this like,
It took Ben 15 minutes to.
I know. So maybe they're gonna give us more time, so, in the event they give us like 30 minutes,
How about we give them an agenda that is clearly more than 15 minutes long and see what they say?
okay, and what would you like on that agenda?
Well, I would start with a recap of the training in July, just to remind everybody of what it was and what they said and what we think maybe their concerns might be, and get them to say what their current concerns were coming out of that.
And that was the roundtable discussion with the
roundtable.
Connecticut Council?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because obviously that had an impact. We've heard that it had a negative impact, and I don't think we can really go forward effectively unless we get to the bottom of that, because we're building on a weak foundation.
Yeah.
That was the intention, to use that as a starting point.
And I think that brings up a good point, because I think, we have to have common ground, we have to agree on something. And I think if we could get them to agree on the need for affordable housing in Woodbridge, that would be a really good first step.
When you finish. I was gonna say, as we were reminded this evening, I believe, the people who believe in conservation do not believe in housing. They will not say, we don't believe in housing, and that we shouldn't build anything for anybody, or whatever. That's not what they say. They say, we believe in housing, but not here, not this way. We believe in it this way, but only in this way, and so forth. So what you have to do is explain to them, as you say, that doing it just in this way is not going to get where we need to be. But you have to establish, as you say, at the outset, where we need to be and why. And that's the part that people aren't buying. They are not buying. Because they're still saying, I understand from people who are listening to the chatter of the political situation right now, people who are canvassing, that people are saying we don't need to build any housing in Woodbridge. Now this is secondhand, but if people are still, saying that, we still have a lot of work to do.
Around ground zero.
They've gotten a little more clever in how they phrase it. My concern is also, number one, that it's not gonna get us there, but number two, I'm very concerned if we put it all in the flats and we have a segregated area for the housing. And that concerns me greatly.
Well, we can put it on the
It-
flats.
It's not,
No, I
don't
know.
put enough of it in the
That's what-
flats.
But that
okay?
seems to be the common theme that we hear.
Yeah,
You
well,
know-
you're putting this big building in the flats, right?
They could put all the lipstick they want, it's still a pig.
Yep.
Okay, you know, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Well, here's all of it. You know, we believe in X, and here's all the ways we can do X. Well, here's all the ways we can't do X, but come on.
Well, we have to develop a respectful and carefully
Yeah.
worded way of explaining why that doesn't work. And it's not just because it
Well,
makes no sense.
it's impractical. It's just
It's not gonna do the
it's
job.
not gonna do the job.
Yeah.
I wonder, I did want to ask him, well, you know, with respect to the country club, for example, just as sort of a litmus test, what if we used 40 acres of that 150 acres or so to put, you know, some housing there? I mean, are all the bunnies and the bats going to complain about that? I mean, I'm being a little flippant, but no, seriously. I mean, if the idea is that under no circumstances can you know, build anything on this sacred land.
There were those.
I don't know. There's no. What's the common ground?
When you and I were speaking at the meeting where they discussed the tap, what they're gonna do with us, we were speaking afterwards. I always mistake who's who. Is it Kathy Wick or Amy Morello?
Amy's the taller one
don't
with
remember.
the sort of longer neck and a little thinner. And
Whoever it was, she said
Guys.
flat out. She said flat out to us, she would not accept even 1 acre, or more or less.
So we did ask that question,
And she said
you
nothing.
know, we did ask that question very directly. Do you think that using 25 or 30 acres out of 155 would be harmful to the environment? She said absolutely. So, you know,
Well, some
we're,
people
you know,
want
we're
to-
sort
Did
of,
you expand on why?
Did you guys see this?
no, it was,
What is that? It's-
Did you see this today?
Yeah.
yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
What is it?
Yeah,
There was an article in the New Haven Independent about the TPC meeting.
Oh,
Just want to make sure everybody said it. But there was something you said that was really,
Yeah, well, it's not gonna get pretty, and it's gonna make us look pretty.
This actually, I thought
Exclusionary.
was remarkably gentle.
Yeah, no.
you mean
it's-
the article?
really-
The article, yeah.
No, it was gentle, but it's coming.
But where was that? Who did that? Oh, yeah. What interested me was at the end, let's see now. No one spoke in favor of the proposal, however, the New Haven City Fire Department submitted a letter in favor. And that was what I thought was interesting.
Yes, there was the city plan department, New Haven City Plan Department did submit. It was like, you know, you had all this, everybody's complaints. It was like the bottom of the pile. They got like the city plan letter. But it talked about, you know, being supportive of Woodbridge having this type of housing on the border of New Haven, that it was, you know,
And they quoted it.
yeah.
I think that was it. And it talks about the environmental benefits.
You're in this article.
Yeah, I know.
She's in it. Mick is in it.
That was
Kathy
from,
Wick is in
that was
this
from the
article, too.
Independent this morning, right?
Yeah, Javier
Yeah,
is in
that
this
is
article.
Pretty gentle.
It was decent reporting, but.
Do you want me to forward it to, anybody want me to forward it to,
Yeah, you could just Google New Haven Independent.
It's today's.
Yeah, but.
Do you know that-
You can get.
Yeah, and I thought, who is this guy, Mr. McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, you're reading the,
I thought what he said was useful too, useful information.
yeah, no, he's in the
Speaking of
houses, he's in the affordable housing sector.
Long guy.
Clearly.
Well, Kevin,
But how is he in the affordable housing?
I forgot what he does.
Was he the reporter?
No, he was responding, you get to like make comments and he was
Is
respond.
he the editor?
He was talking about.
He comments on a lot of stuff.
Does he?
Political stuff. Oh,
Yeah, he's got the, I mean, he's talking about the effect on schools.
Yeah,
And it's
there's
not
no,
as significant
no,
as people.
well, no,
want to
we,
get.
we,
Oh, yeah, just consistent with.
we say that and they, you know, they, of course, it's constantly brought up, but
that's really
it's just, you know, the same, oh, and I don't know, what did people think about the article I sent about the, how safe new multifamily housing developments are in terms of, you know,
fire safety.
the fire safety. I thought that was, you know,
I read that one this morning.
yeah, so, you know, they, so new multi-housing developments are like 10 times safer than single-family housing because of the, you know, the strict requirements they have on sprinkler systems and, you know, fire-rated walls and, you know, the doors and
Yeah,
the
fire
alarms
risk, yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, so it's much safer environment. Because they're concerned about the, you know, because some, you know, a lot of the developments going throughout Connecticut, they talk about the, you know, the fire truck not being able
People
to
to make the turns, you
to
get up
make
to
a
the fifth
turn,
floor or
and
whatever.
it's like, well, it's sprinkled, it's a sprinkler system, you know. The most damage they get, I guess, is from the flooding, the water
I didn't
damage.
make that connection. You're right.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Make that
It's just
connection
right.
before you just
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Yeah, so,
So that was a side. Did I cause that? Sorry, digression.
yeah.
We digress.
Okay, we're,
As Tom Blair used to say.
all right.
Plus we don't.
So, next item, I wanted to talk, or I thought we should talk about was, maybe we should have another informational session.
Oh, did we finish with conservation? Did we make a plan?
Oh, well, we talked about recapping from the meeting.
Mhm.
Was that July?
Yeah.
July 30th? And I
Is that
thought,
meeting recorded any place that,
yes,
yeah,
Yeah, I had to watch it on tape, and I was just sorry that I couldn't hear any of the subsequent discussions. So
yeah, that was the
really
problem.
important.
It stopped at the, they wanted people to be open and honest with discussion, so they stopped the taping at that point. But it was just more of the informational session, which is good. No,
Yeah.
It really
I
is,
would-
it's good.
like to
Well,
look
that
at it
was-
before
yeah.
the,
Yeah, I don't think it was the discussion that was concerning to the Conservation Commission. I think it was the initial,
It
at
was-
least if I'm inferring from what Chris said last month. That was the kind of thing that they were in the facilitators notes. Do we have the facilitators notes?
I did send that out.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But in the minutes, it's reflected, you know, he was concerned that somebody had said that, you know, only 14% of land trust supportive housing. And it was like, no, that's not what was said. It was said that, you know, that 14% of the land trusts were actively involved in supporting some type of development. So it was just, again,
misconstrued.
misunderstanding information.
So are you talking about the presentation about how conservation and housing can work together?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, getting my meetings mixed up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you were referring to something else.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
But I do feel strongly that we should have a plan of action before we go in there, that we should have a presentation or something instead of just, I don't know what the option.
Oh, like doing a PowerPoint or something?
I don't know if we want to be too formal. We might want to have some of the slides from the presentation, just to remind them of what was said and maybe spur them to talk to us about what their thoughts were about it. And possibly, I don't know if we're ready to do that yet, but maybe make some proposals of our own about it, or just outline the kinds of things that other housing commissions and that we could do in concert with them, that other groups do. Some
Yeah,
suggestions.
I think that's getting,
Two in the-
I think we have to evolve to that. I think if we could just, come to an agreement to meet on a regular basis, to continue the conversation, to have them get an understanding of the need for affordable housing. And they could talk about the need for conservation and then just try to find some common
What they're
ground,
doing.
I think that's like the next step is to actually come up with actual, potential projects that we could work together on.
Oh, maybe they'd be interested, if we're speaking about ADUs, maybe they'd be interested in helping us with a panel, a co-sponsorship, that kind of thing. No, I think you're right, I think you got the right idea.
Yeah, but I would love to bring somebody from, and I do have access to some people up in Litchfield County that were part of the Affordable Housing Collaborative with the Land Trust to maybe come down and speak, have a joint meeting where we could have them come down and talk to both committees.
Maybe what we need to do is ask them to tell us what their Conservation Commission is working on very briefly and how that might overlap. And we could tell them what we're working on and how that might overlap. How long do you think that would take? That would just be an introduction.
Well, maybe that might be interesting if we try to come up with some intersections where both our committees overlap.
Well, maybe that's a second meeting. Maybe we should ask the chair what she thinks we should do.
I venture to say that they're probably not in the process of identifying parcels of property that development that are not conservation. They're not off the board because of conservation. They'd be able to tell you what they're looking to conserve, but I don't know that they're gonna, and then I guess they'd say everything else is fine, I guess. But I suspect the problem with committees that are, sort of tunnel vision is that you get stuck with single factor analysis. You don't take all the considerations, and people need to have houses, people need to have green space, people need to have, but all those things have to be done, and if you're just looking at one thing, it's very easy to ignore all the other things, and I think that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Yes, I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, it may be up to the Board of Selectmen to have to somehow, put it all together, but I'm not sure we're making it easier for them as a group if all the, all the committees are, focused on one particular aspect to the exclusion of other things. I'm not sure that really advances the ball. It just sort of people tend to get dug in a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's great.
Well, that's what we're trying to sort of work through.
No, I
by
understand.
talking, at least talking and
No.
listening
Yeah,
to each
no, I think
other.
that's- I
I
think
mean,
that's-
we have to kind of start there.
Yeah, and it would be, it would be really, because I think they have openings. It would be really great to get somebody on there that has a, conservation housing lens, to be
Or
able
somebody in ours who has a conservation
Yeah.
housing.
Yeah.
I mean, surely this issue has come up in other towns, and other towns have managed to work together.
Well, maybe that's a good discussion when we have, because I know that Scrog is doing another regional housing conversation meeting. I forgot.
I don't have the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
So maybe that's something that could be brought up. How could we do this maybe as a regional? Because you're right. I'm sure it goes on in every town.
Yeah,
It's the same. I mean, everybody's, I kind of laugh because I think this is, wow, what a great story. What a great, case for, looking at, how groups, fight, developments, and I'm thinking, this is going on in every single town, every single night. We're not unique in what's happening. It's just the way things are just happening in the state. So
Yeah, I wonder if somebody from SCROG could be with us at this next meeting.
Do we have somebody else in the region who could be really a poster child for the combination of?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know in the region.
I'm worried about the region, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I,
think about,
I'll ask,
or they would know somebody in another region better than we would.
yeah,
probably.
yeah. I mean, I know people in the Northwest,
Northwest,
Um,
southeast.
but I don't know anybody who's trying to do this in the Scrog area. I guess we could ask Ian. Now Stephanie left, I don't know,
Oh, did she?
she is becoming the planner of Stratford. So that's good.
Wouldn't Sprague be Ian? I forget his last name.
Ian McWee, McWee?
Something like that. It's an
Something like
MC. Yep.
Yeah, so, I could talk to him about that. So that's all I have. Is there anything else we should be talking about? I guess, I meant to ask you in terms of the housing commission.
Yes, about the housing commission.
Did they say like next steps when they were thinking about,
Yes, they did.
when they're thinking about?
It wasn't, it's gonna take, the ordinance was passed and it's gonna take effect in 30 days. But just because it's in effect, it doesn't mean that they have to seek the commission that fast. And again, this was some, back and forth a little bit, and my understanding was that we are all now, not because of that, but because our terms have they ended in September?
I think they gave us until like the end of September or until the commission starts.
Yeah, so then there was some suggestion that we didn't have a committee anymore because
our terms
our
ended.
terms are up. But Mika was saying, no, where it says, until you're.
Well, thank you.
Until you're replaced. So I think they're gonna start thinking about having the commission like in December maybe, and getting people organized for that. But it was kind of up in the air, a little worrisome.
So we're gonna
I don't
get,
know what, I'm thinking, we're trying to plan stuff and we don't even know if we're gonna have the same people or we're not gonna know.
well, that's why I'd like to plan like a last informational session in December, and even if we get like, fired, we could probably still have an informational session
Don't
and,
get fired. We should live so long.
One last question.
but,
Since in the past it was always easy to determine who was the majority, who was the minority, it was either Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
But now that we have common ground,
uh-huh.
do they appoint the majority or minority, or does it go back to the Republican
Oh, what a
Party?
good question.
No, they are
Good
Republicans.
You are full of good questions.
Their literature identifies people, and some of them identify with as independents, and some of them identify as Democrats.
I think
in
it was
addition-
7 Republicans,
One Democrat,
What?
one,
I
one
thought
or
one or
two
two.
Democrats,
Yeah.
and then,
and then an independent.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean,
But that's, that includes the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Education people too, and they're not really, that's nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen.
I would think, you'd have to go with your party affiliation,
yeah.
whether
How
you're
you
Republican,
vote.
Democrat.
How you vote.
Yeah, because common ground, you're not gonna walk into the election booth and see common ground, you're still gonna see row B
row
Republican.
A and row B.
So,
You won't see it in their literature.
It says.
No, it does have a little.
That's a-
Yeah.
So then it
I
would
see it
be-
on the Republican line.
Yep, so then it would be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, who's gonna have the majority? Because, and we're gonna have to wait until November to see
After the
who gets the
election,
vote, And I guess the way it's gonna happen is the parties are going to choose. So I don't know what happens with independent, is there if you're independent, how do you get,
Well, either party can choose you then.
oh, okay.
what did you say?
I think either party can choose you.
If you're registered as an independent, I think you can.
Yeah.
choose.
Well, they could affiliate, which is what happens in Congress, you could sit with one
caucus
party,
with,
like
yeah.
Bernie Sanders or
Yeah.
Angus King. But I guess if they counted as goes by the first selectman, and if there's two candidates there, Council Republican, that makes it easier to decide who's the majority, who's the minority.
Well, I think, whoever, I mean, the way I understand it, whoever wins in November, they'll get 4, and then the minority party will get 2.
Mhm.
Right, so I think that's how it goes. So we have to see what happens in November as to who gets 4 and who gets 2.
Can you have a first selectman from one party and everybody else from the other party?
I think you could. I think it depends how the votes turn out. Though I don't know. I don't know. I hate to say I don't care, but.
Wiser minds than us will make those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, whatever way it shakes out, I mean, the thing, when you get down to it, they have a hard time getting people to like participate in these types of committees. So they should be thrilled that there's people here that are committed to continuing on doing this work. And this is not easy work, and we're here ready to do this work. So I think hopefully they'll see that as a good thing. And I did say that, when I spoke, I said we're all interested in continuing, and we'd like to continue,
But we can't all, if we're only gonna have 6 people. We can't all stay.
Well, we'll have to draw straws.
We can have
It's a short story, get to go home.
Once, twice, 3 sheets.
Some shadows.
We'll figure it out.
Ex officio, we're gonna do
Jim, on the
ex officio.
literature for Common Ground, does it say vote row B?
It didn't
Yes.
say anything.
Yeah,
I did,
that's
the first, the initial stuff I got didn't, I'm sorry, Maureen. The initial stuff I got just had the people and had their, R and D and something and little picture.
But it says vote row B, it doesn't mention Republican or Democrat on that row.
Uh-huh.
That's, sorry, Maureen, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Do we have a little bit of time?
Gonna be
Yeah.
Can
interesting.
we track, it's in the back of my mind, I had to pull up the plan of conservation and development, and I'm looking at it, and there's nothing we could say that would, is this a why bother about, comments on this at this point? They just gonna, because look, it says consider usage of country club of Woodbridge property. You know what it says? Consider age-restricted lifestyle housing, which may include cluster housing or a planned development district to take advantage of the site's unique access to public water. Doesn't say anything about affordable anything.
Are you looking at the country club plan?
No. This is plan of conservation and development. Page 27. It's the, and then I don't know.
Are you looking at
That's the one on the website. That's the maybe on the
Under the Conservation Commission?
the proposed POCD?
town plan of conservation and development. Maybe is that?
What year is it?
Let's see. I thought this was the new one. Maybe it's the old one. In which case,
Could be the old one. It sounds like the old one.
no, it's the old one.
Yeah,
Never mind.
That's it, yeah.
I was gonna say because I hadn't seen that before. And I said, "What the hell?" That's what's posted. That's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Why did I have to get this?
Never mind.
Yeah. All good.
I borrowed a copy of the current one and the draft one, but this is not the final draft one, from Allison. And I was gonna leave them back for her, but if anybody wants to borrow them in hard copy, it would be fine, she doesn't need them back. And this is the part where they say what,
Oh, the implementation.
implementation.
I haven't. Do you have any comments on that? Because I haven't even looked at it.
This one? Oh, this is where all the juicy
Oh,
ones
here's
are.
the. Okay.
You should look at this.
I know. I mean, I feel like so the implementation table is not really the official part of the POCD. But it's like who does what, and I really feel like, since it's kind of aligned with like, kind of looks like Sheila's strategic plan that she had. I feel like I was thinking that the implementation table should really be something the Board of Selectmen does. Here's our guide. And in terms of implementation, since they're in charge of the funding and the resources and all that stuff, and the capacity, then they could decide how it gets executed. Our job is to provide a vision and goals. So that was my thought. Because they're gonna change it anyway.
Well, I mean, I've always thought it was pretty funny because they assign responsibility to the Historical Society, which of course has nothing to do with government. You're not part of the government, you're welcome to say what you like, but you can't order us around. But this is really where the rubber hits the road.
Okay.
The POCD, I consider it to be a very weak document, generally, just the way it was
Right, right.
researched and the way it was written and all that. I would have turned it down on the grounds of its quality. But if this isn't actually even part of it, it's really not, this doesn't have any weight, this thing? 'Cause this
Well,
is-
it's part of it, but it's not a requirement of the POCD. So it's not a state requirement, so you could submit the POCD to the state without implementation plan. Implementation plan is something, I guess, towns do in order to talk about how you're going to execute the plan. It is the heart of how you get things done, but my thought is, since the Board of Selectmen are the ones that decide on who gets what, then really, they're in a better position to decide how it gets executed. Except for stuff that's related to TPC.
Well, I can understand them wanting to offload, consciousness about so many, because there's so much stuff here. So this is us. Provide opportunities for workforce housing, identify potential town-owned properties to be acquired, or properties to be acquired that could be used to provide affordable housing options, continue efforts to engage and educate the public, blah, blah.
Well, if folks could look at the implementation table, which is on the website. So there's a proposed
Yeah,
POCD.
it doesn't exactly pop up on getting Whose Circle of Death.
Okay, so when you get to a stable internet connection,
You could just use this article.
you could, if you,
Hey Lou, could you pass that one down?
That's what?
The one that's on the blue folder down, that's in her hand.
guy.
It's in Mary's hand. Thank you.
if folks could look at the implementation table related to housing, and I think it's HC, they have the responsibilities for HC. If there's any changes there that should be made, just let me know.
I didn't see it.
So, I looked at it very quickly, I didn't see anything that popped out, but there could be.
But as you say, as I was asking what the big objections from other people are about the quality of it or the content of it, if they're successful in making substantive changes, we'll just have to look at it again. Because of the nature of the objections generally is that there's too much housing, then you know that we're gonna take it on the chin, and if they're successful, and we wanna make sure that what they leave is what we need to have.
So, last agenda item, and I wanted to throw this out to see what people think in terms of next steps for informational sessions. I know Chris was talking about having a session on how to do ADUs to encourage for the development of ADUs. I don't know if he's actually gonna be pulling that together anytime soon.
I'm in favor of that. I saw a panel, a public session, many weeks ago during this meeting, I think it was Fairfield, which should have been Fairfield probably, and it was so interesting, and it was so informational. I mean, what I took away from it might not be the same thing that somebody who was really an advocate for making it happen would want to have in it, because it was very complete. It talked about practical matters, it talked about legal issues, it talked about social issues. It had individuals who had created ADUs on their property,
Oh.
and why, and what they were, what was gonna happen if their kids moved out and they didn't wanna move out yet, and all that sort of thing. But it gave a very well-rounded picture. It involved people who are not us, people who are really advocates for it and participants in the programs. And it gave an awful lot of good basic information.
Do you have
If you want me
information.
to, I'll send you the link and you can watch it.
Yeah, I'd
like
It's
to.
really interesting.
Yeah, because I know people in Fairfield, I could probably.
Yeah, I know, I should know somebody, I mean, I've met somebody who did one of the ADU, a builder who did one of the ADUs in town. And we would wanna have somebody who built one, we'd wanna have somebody who owns one. And then you just talk about the whole picture. It was, and if you can get some other people to do that and you get it scheduled, then you're pretty much done.
Okay,
And there's an awful lot of good information already produced online. I mean, typed out and everything, so that you could do an outline pretty easily, and you could do handouts and all kinds of stuff. And then we would get some people, hopefully a few people, to recognize the fact that we had actually done something that they asked us to do.
well, that's never gonna
If you-
happen.
Could you send us the link for that?
I will send you
That would be
materials.
great.
All right, so we will still work on doing an ADU informational session. And another session I thought about was, since we have some new folks on planning and zoning, and there's required land use training, we did the training on affordable housing for housing laws that we had at the JCC, and I was thinking of maybe doing another session on that, and again, inviting people, because I think it's really important now for people to really understand, particularly around, Public Act 21-29, so people understand that, when decisions are made on zoning is because of the changes that were made in Public Act 21-29 that required towns to have zoning regulations that provide for the development of opportunity housing, multifamily housing for people in not only the residents in Woodbridge, but residents of the region, and for that housing being for low, moderate income folks, and the reason also with that to provide economic opportunities for people of diverse economic backgrounds, and to understand what Public Act 21-29 requires of the town and of the zoning, so they understand why when zoning regulations decisions are made, it's because we are given our power through the Zoning Enabling Act to do that, and this is.
This town needs that. I'm not sure the housing committee is the group that needs to do it, and I'm not sure who would come to it, but it needs it.
Well, we had it, we had
I
this
know, you
session.
did it, but it wasn't, now people would be looking at it with a different lens.
Yeah.
And they'd be looking for different kinds of information from it, which is why I say now, people will get it, but I'm not sure that.
Because
I
there's
mean,
more,
you're right, we should be doing it.
because there's more polarization now, is that what you're thinking, or?
But for the same reason that people really need to understand this, because as you can tell from a lot of the discussion, they don't understand what the parameters are, what the necessities are, and what the parameters for making decisions are and that sort of thing. But it's so complicated, I just don't know if we'll ever succeed in, if we are I'm still struggling to understand why decisions are made. I despair of the public.
Well, it is required training for
them,
zoning,
yes.
so they should
No,
understand.
for them, yeah, but I'm just wondering about how we would sell it to the public and get people to come, except that they would be angry or something.
Well, I think it's just a informational session on, affordable housing and fair housing laws.
I'd like to listen to it again, frankly.
Yeah, so.
You can't.
So maybe I could try to see if that, JCC is open. I'm thinking like if we get to do it like early December or something, between the holidays. Because I think after that, then, we don't know what's gonna happen.
We don't know if we exist
Yeah, that's-
after that.
That's a good idea. No, I really do, I think it would be great. I just wonder who'll come. Everyone should come, but
I think people will come.
I think more people will come now
Yeah.
than came
I think a
before
lot of people are engaged now.
for that reason.
Yeah, no, I think more people are interested, for all sorts of reasons.
And it's an opportunity for people to actually discuss this
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
Because in the context that it's being discussed right now, it's all one way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not a good information transfer context.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Jim, what do you think? Did you go to the one, the session that Mark Brantz did at the JCC? It was affordable housing, fair housing laws.
That's a while ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I did, yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like a remake of that.
Oh, okay.
So who are you gonna ask to come?
Well, it would have to be the commissions. The planning and zoning has to come, because there's new members, planning and zoning, the Board of Appeals. So, the people then get newly elected, they could go. Even the Conservation Commission, and the Wetlands Commission is also supposed to be trained on this. So the Wetland Commission, and just, have it open to the public, but really, target Board of Selectmen, and target certain,
We're gonna know who all those people are by December too, aren't we?
yeah,
Maybe not the new commissioners, but.
yeah, so.
Shouldn't we do it in
And
December,
who would-
assuming that we're not going, I shouldn't say we, that this committee's not gonna be appointed until around then?
I think we plan it.
Do it- We could plan,
Yeah.
we don't know what the other commissions are gonna be made up of also, because we don't know what happens in the election.
Oh, in terms of the,
I don't think there's
Conservation.
is there a wholesale turnover of all the commission after?
I would
an
imagine
election?
if there's a party change.
Oh, could
No,
be.
but you have
I only
terms,
have
don't just
questions,
say
I don't
term, you don't have to
have any
resign,
answers.
you have set terms on whether you
That's
speak,
half the
right?
battle.
you have set, you
That's
have, you
three
do have
quarters
set
of the
terms.
battle.
Oh, no, you make it, there's some like zoning appeals will be, but you'll know who gets elected. Like zoning appeals,
Yes.
that's election.
That's correct.
Planning and zone is appointed, but terms like,
You have a term.
people will be coming off, so that would be an issue for planning and zoning,
Yeah.
because I don't know if I'm coming and going for planning and zoning.
But you don't need the training.
No. Anyway,
You're the least of our problems.
yeah. But I just think it's good timing for people to just, I think the more you just educate people, maybe somebody will get it. Maybe the light will go off and somebody will say, oh, that's why they did that,
Well, and if we
No, I
do
think
it and it's filmed, then you can go back and look at it.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's a great idea, I'm just wondering the mechanics, how we go about it.
yeah, well,
Well,
it's
when I was
gonna be a lot.
asking who speaks, who would we ask to speak?
Well, maybe we could just broaden it. I mean, I want to get, a land use attorney, like Mark Brantz was great. There's other good land attorneys that do this training. What's his name? Jason Klein. He's a Carmody Torrance, do you know him? He's Yvonne Klein's son. He's really good.
Oh, okay.
He's done the training before. Actually, I could just look at my, because I did the training for planning and zoning through the Connecticut Bar Association, and they had a lot of good attorneys there. So I could maybe just go through that list. So, all right.
You're up.
So I will work on that, and maybe we could have maybe we could broaden it a little bit, to talk about, maybe have somebody from the Partnership for Strong Communities talk about the need for housing.
How about OCA?
Okay. No.
I need to go home, obviously.
Yeah, I think we're all
Too
gonna.
troublesome.
I know you wanna
My
watch the Yankee game.
Caretaker's leaving soon, so I do have to go.
All right, so why
Rock Ridge.
don't we wrap up? I think, is there anything else? If not, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so we got
Second.
Jim and I, one of us moves, one of us seconds.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And